This video was made in sponsorship with Hear Well, Be Well Clinics. Compassionate, trustworthy, and innovative. Check them out. Hi, Philip. Thank you so much for joining me on an episode of Hear Me Out. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really, really well. Thank you, April. Thanks for having me.
Yes, amazing. So I like to start off with all my guests. What is your connection to hearing loss?
So, my connection to hearing loss probably commenced about 3.5 years ago, where I was diagnosed with a chronic disease called Meniere's disease. It's a disorder that affects the inner ear. So, as a result of that, the effects include vertigo, dizziness, tinnitus, fullness in the ear, and deafness. So, as a result of going through that, I've actually lost 50% of hearing, just over 50% of hearing in my right ear.
That is an experience. So what made you seek out getting a diagnosis? Like, was there something that happened in your life that like, I should probably go get checked out?
Yeah, so like a lot of Meniere sufferers, the first sign of it was tinnitus, just constant. However, tinnitus is very, very common for a multitude of reasons. So I didn't really think much of it until one day I was sitting in my office at work and the whole room just started violently spinning and spinning and spinning. And I ended up in the emergency department at the hospital. Colleagues said that they'd never seen someone that shade of green before.
Oh my goodness.
And the doctor assumed that I had Meniere's disease just based on the causality of it all, and went to go and see an ENT after running tests to make sure that there was nothing worse going on internally. I was diagnosed with Meniere's disease.
Wow. And I can't even imagine getting that diagnosis. I mean, I'm not sure how old you are, but like that must have been so overwhelming.
It is. It was. It's sort of a lot to process, but really with anything. So when your life's going in this trajectory, and then all of a sudden there's the brakes get put on, and it's sort of a reassessment.
Right.
But sort of with everything negative, there's positives that come from it as well. So like I've
Totally.
got my hearing aid now and I can listen to Bluetooth music, and my wife doesn't have to put up with my constant reels and YouTube shorts. I can just listen to that in my own time. So
That's the best. For me, if my husband starts playing guitar, I just take them out and I'm like, huh, it's not as overwhelming and like loud. It's just huh. So there
yeah,
are some silver linings.
there really are. But that's one thing that got me with it as well, because like probably the majority of people who don't need hearing aids, you just assume that okay, you lose your hearing, and they give you this awesome little thing that you put in your ear, and your hearing's back. And it's really not like that at all. I'm I can hear background noises perfectly well, but I can't hear my daughter talking next to me.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part. They're not a cure, they're an assistive device, and it's a huge misconception in the hearing loss world for
Yeah,
sure. People
it
just don't
it,
seem to
it
understand it.
exactly. But I've grown to love it now. I've got my routine, and every day I have to have it in. Like
Oh yeah.
regardless of what I'm doing, if it's not in my ear, I feel sort of naked and vulnerable without it.
I feel the same way. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have them both ears, and yeah, if I don't wear them in, I just feel like something's missing, like part of me
yeah,
is missing.
exactly.
Yeah. So I'm really curious what made you want to start sharing your journey online because not many people want to disclose things like this about themselves. And so I'm curious what made you start is steady through the storm.
It
Correct?
is, it is.
Okay.
So it was sort of something that I was talking to my wife about for quite a while. There's the other sort of effects that Meniere's causes is very, very strong anxiety and a lot of mental health issues that follow on from that. So I myself, I always sort of have been very out there. The spotlight always tends to find me. You mentioned that your husband's a guitarist. so am I. The spotlight literally needed to be on me. And one day we were at a local shopping center here, or you'll call it a mall, and I had a really bad bout of vertigo, and that then set on anxiety, which then started to make me sort of coil back into what I considered a safe space. And I didn't want to be going out. I didn't want to be doing things. I didn't want to be speaking to people. I started to become more distant. I noticed it within myself, and I sort of flagged that, all right, I've got what I can assume is the early onset of depression. And then because the disease itself, it's so vague in nature, and because it's not something that ENTs can just do surgery on, they're not, while they're fantastic, they don't really do much. So there's a lot of so then I went on to Reddit, where there's a phenomenal forum on Reddit for many years. And I did a little bit of a deep dive there, and I just found that there's so much depression and anxiety within this international community, irrelevant of age, race, religion, creed. And it was just, it really sort of hit home. So I was talking to my wife and I said, I really want to start getting myself better and getting myself fitter and healthier. And I sort of wanted to concentrate on three pillars. So mind, body, soul. So over the past 10 months, I've been concentrating on that. I've lost 35 kilos, which is about 70 pounds, I think. Yeah, 70, 75 pounds. Forgive my math if it's a little bit off in the conversion. And just pushing those limits to try to not get back to normal, but discover that new me, because I'm never going to be that old me again. It's about, okay, this is who I am now. And through that, I've had so many people that I speak to about the disease, like friends and family, say that they love the positivity that I'm bringing to it. And I just wanted to keep bringing that positivity to a wider community. And
That's
that's what got me into creating Steady Through the Storm, which is obviously a pretty good play on words, because sometimes you do feel very, very seasick, even if you're standing on dry land with the vertigo. But the the reaction I've had from complete strangers from all around the world, it's been fantastic. I am so humbled by people reaching out to me, thanking me for sharing my journey and helping them with theirs. And that's literally why I started it. So I'm really, really happy to be doing it. And it's something I look forward to doing and every day.
That's amazing. And that's similar to my stories. I did it as a coping mechanism. I started my channel for myself to like grieve the old me and become the new me. And I think that's a really beautiful point you made about, you're never going to be that person again before your diagnosis. And you just have to kind of turn that page into a new chapter and just discover you as this new person with, what's going on. I think that's really phenomenal. And I also like that you focus on the positivity, because I think that's a huge thing is, and I try to do that on my page too, is keep it positive. While there are a ton of negatives, if we focus on those, we start to spiral. And so it's so powerful when you can hold on to those peaceful, beautiful moments and kind of hopefully have those pull you back into the positive aspects that do exist. They're hard to find sometimes, but they are there.
Yeah, I agree completely, because you can look at any day of the week, and while there are negatives, there's always going to be negatives, but there are always so many positives.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing, yeah, especially with the way the world is and everything, it's you got to find those little moments and
Yeah,
build off of
exactly.
them.
Yeah, between the news and social media and everything, it's just doom and gloom everywhere. So you need to be that little
Absolutely.
beacon of light and just let that in.
Absolutely. And online is such a powerful place too. Like you meet people, like I said, internationally, and it also helps yourself with your own journey, like not to be like egotistical about it, but it's nice to also just feel heard from people that get it. Because as much as
Yeah,
my husband is sympathetic, he doesn't have hearing loss. He doesn't get it. He'll listen to me vent, but it's nice to find people online where you're like, I feel heard, I feel seen. It's
Yeah,
just, it's quite powerful.
exactly. It's about that getting it completely. So I actually had an old friend of my wife's and mine that we haven't spoken to in, I want to say, 10 years reach out to me, and she'd just been diagnosed with a disease as well. And she just wanted to reach out to say, thank you so much. Like, my husband's fantastic, but he's not going, he gets it and he's empathetic, but that empathy's a little bit in vain because he doesn't actually truly grasp the severity of it.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think the thing too that's super powerful about creating the page that you have is it shines awareness on it. Because again, these diseases and topics aren't spoken about enough, especially in our demographic. It might maybe be spoken more in the 60 plus, but I find the younger crowd, like we don't get the same awareness and
No.
representation that we need to get people to go seek out those diagnoses, like figure out
Yeah.
what is happening in your world. And so that's really amazing that you've taken that leap and have started sharing your journey. I think that's very
Yeah.
powerful.
Thank you. And I think a lot of it comes down to vanity as well. I remember when I first got my hearing aid, my audiologist, who's an absolute legend, I'm going to give him a shout out again. I've already posted about him. His name's Alan Tan. He's just a genuine soul. I remember him saying to me, I'm going to give you the most slimline device I can give you. And I said, I don't care if it's a trumpet sticking out of my ear, just fix it. He said, but no 37-year-old man wants to be wearing a 60-year-old's hearing aid. I said, I don't care. But that got me thinking, how many people out of vanity
Yeah,
don't
absolutely.
wear hearing aids?
Yeah. I find it
Yeah.
interesting when the audiologists are usually the one pressuring people to get the tiniest device available. And it's like, well, is it going to give me the best outcome though? Like, I don't really care what it looks like if it brings me back to some sort of normalcy
Yeah.
with my hearing. So I really don't care. It's funny that
Yeah.
connection there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for someone who's newly diagnosed with Meniere's? Is there a resource that you found outside of your platform that helped you kind of navigate those first few months of like, what am I going to do with my life now?
Oh, that's such a good question, April. So I did what everyone does, and I did a Google search, and it's just all doom and gloom and despair and tragedy and woe is me. Then I went on to Reddit. Um, the best advice I can probably give is consult not only an ENT, but a really good naturopath, a really good, I don't want to say PT, but a nutritionist. And don't be scared, because while this disease is uncurable, it's something that can be mitigated with diet and lifestyle adjustments. It's not going to stop it. And the sooner you come to terms with that and turn that corner to be and start looking at what the new you is,
Yeah, that's
the
such a great point.
better, the better it's going to be for you. So, I mean, part of it is you have to consume under 1,500 milligrams of sodium a day,
Okay.
which is pretty much impossible to do unless you're just eating broccoli and drinking water. But excuse me, it's manageable. It's all manageable. It seems like there's a massive mountain. It seems like Mount Everest is in front of you, but just keep taking it step by step.
Right. That's wonderful. And I love that you brought up the point of a naturopath and nutrition because I think that gets overlooked so much that
Yes.
there could be food triggers with tinnitus, like canceling out some foods, seeing what works for you. Every person's different, but finding those small triggers before you jump on medication, not to like knock that, but really look at like the environmental triggers in your life. I think that's such an important point, and I'm so glad you brought that up
Yeah,
because
I
that's
agree completely. And that's one of the things that really flagged it all for me, especially with, as you mentioned, the tinnitus or tinnitus. It's the sodium piece. When you consume higher levels of sodium than what you should be, the first telltale for you to stop with many years is a flare up of your tinnitus. So mine's very loud. Well, for me, I think it's very loud anyway. So I liken it to when you go to get your hearing tested and they put on the background noise and they
Yeah,
play the bibs. The second loudest background noise is the tinnitus in my right ear.
right.
So fun. But that gets louder if I consume more sodium than what I should. So that's always my telltale sign. You've got to listen to your body.
Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah. And
listen
that's
to your
such an
body.
important, yeah. And like it's great that you figured that out for yourself too, because it can take years for people to discover that because it takes discipline and patience to figure those little things
Yeah.
out, but they can have a huge impact. Like if I drink too much coffee or have too much sugar, like that for me is a
So
huge
the
sign.
three, it's funny that you mentioned coffee. So the three no-goes they tell you for many years is one, cut down salt, two, cut down or cut out coffee,
Right.
which being my background ancestry is Italian and Greek as well. So that was probably one of the hardest things to do. And thirdly is alcohol.
Okay.
So they say that you can still have a wine or a gin or something every now and again, but I've cut it out for probably the past 10, 11 months and I feel fantastic. I don't actually miss it even in a social setting. I'll have myself a Coke Zero or a diet Coke or something instead, just to treat myself. But they're those three triggers, and as soon as you start reining those in, and then you start realizing, okay, well, look at all of the food that I'm eating and the quality of food that I'm eating,
Yeah.
and then I just go back to eating whole foods and real food, and a lot of your problems just start to dissipate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's interesting. Coffee has been difficult for me to give up, but I figured out I can have a cup. If I go past that, I start to be like, "Ah, I shouldn't have done that." It's like,
Yeah, it's a
but
trial
it's
and
one of
error.
those things. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, so where can people learn more about your story, follow your positive energy? What is your handle? Do you have a website? Where can
No
people find you?
website, no website. I'm only on Instagram at the
Okay.
moment. I don't know what else I'm going to be doing. I might look at doing a YouTube channel later on where I do something in a similar content to
Yeah.
what you're doing here. But at this stage, it's only on Instagram. It's steady through the storm.
Fantastic. Well, I'll make sure to include that. And I think that's phenomenal. The more people we can get online to share their story and to share just about like the hearing health world in general, because there's so many pockets. Like you have Meniere's disease, I have otosclerosis. That's just two small
Yeah,
like pillars of the hearing health world, but we're already able to share so much through our little avenues. And I think that's powerful. And that's how we make a change. That's how we reduce stigma. I don't know if it'll ever get eliminated, but definitely create these conversations that can help people. That's
yeah,
the
I
goal.
agree. I agree completely. And at the very least, it's going to take the sting of getting told that they're no longer going to be who they used to be.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
I think
that's cool.
that's how life goes though. You know,
Yeah.
you evolve, you change, and it's how we handle those things thrown at us is how we will enjoy life. And I mean, I've now had hearing loss for almost 9 years, and the beginning was rough, but now I've embraced it. And I'm like, I like my life. I love my life. I love my hearing aids. This is a part of me now. And it's just, once you accept that, it gets so much better.
It
Not
does.
easier, but better. Like there's still ups and downs, but
Yeah.
you know how to
Like
handle them
everything.
a bit better, you know?
The best thing about it, and I agree, that the best thing about it, and tell me if you've experienced this, your Bluetooth obviously connects to your hearing aids. Do you
Yeah.
take phone calls with your hearing aids?
Sometimes, yeah, it's
Do
pretty
you
nice.
take them in public and people are just staring at you like you're crazy talking to yourself?
Can't say I'm that popular where I've taken up phone calls in public, but yeah, sometimes I'll pretend like I'm Secret Service, and I'll like kind of just touch my ear and like look around. I've done that before, and I find it hilarious when people look at you, and I'm like, yeah, 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 and it's fun.
It's good fun. It really is.
It really is. And honestly, the Bluetooth is phenomenal. Like when my daughter's napping and I want to watch something, it's so much easier to like
Yes.
not disrupt her.
Yes, it's the same when so my wife and I split the duties, so we'll read the kids stories together, and then I'll take my son and she'll stay with my daughter. And as he's sort of dozing off, it's great. I can just go through the reels or the YouTube
Yeah,
shorts, and it's all in my ear, and I know he
yeah,
doesn't
it's
hear a
wonderful.
thing.
And before we go though, how has been parenting with having children? I mean, I was diagnosed before I even had my daughter, but you were diagnosed when you
I
already
was
had children.
diagnosed. So my diagnosis came, gosh, okay. So we had my daughter would have been going on two,
Okay.
um, and we would have my wife would have just found out that she was pregnant with our son. Um, so how's it been? It's challenging at times. And I sort of highlight this on my Instagram as well. And it's more so from that father piece. I mean, you look up to dad is that rock, that solid space, that unstoppable object, that immovable object, your support. And so, on top of vertigo, another issue that plagues Meniere's disease is they're called affectionately referred to as drop attacks.
Okay.
So, what a drop attack is in my experience anyway, and other people may differ, but my vertigo is horizontal and it goes from left to right because my Meniere's is in my right ear. Um, what a drop attack does is it goes vertical, and it literally implies that there's no onset warning, no anything, and it's just you're on the floor. So I remember my first drop attack. I came downstairs. It was actually Father's Day, and I was going to take my daughter to kindergarten for Father's Day breakfast, and I had my first ever drop attack. So she saw me collapse, and then look, it only lasts a couple of seconds, and then I was back up on the couch. But I couldn't shake it in time to take her to her first and only kindergarten Father's Day breakfast. So that's, as a person, as a father, that really, really hit. However, what I took from that is its strength. And again, I've mentioned this on my Instagram. Strength I found isn't just about being that immovable object. It's about showing that even when you get rocked, you're still ready to get back up,
Yeah.
and you're still there and you're doing everything you can, and you're constantly trying to take more and more steps forward. Um, so that's been difficult. Hearing kids, I mean, how many kids do you have, April? One?
Just the one, yeah.
Yes, the one. Yeah, so we've got two.
Yeah.
They're constantly vying for attention, and they're very loud, so loud that I've had to go back multiple times to Alan to get the adjustments. Yeah, for that
Yeah.
loud piercing, so it just cuts out. I actually had my father-in-law asking me yesterday because the kids were over there and they were screaming, and he said, "Phil, how do you go with their hearing aid?" I'm like, "Well, I've had it turned down. Like it's the kids' precautionary mode. Like it just can't go faster. It just shuts off." So that's there's not being able to hear them half the time. Bless my daughter,
Right.
I love her, but she keeps trying to whisper secrets into my ear, and I'm like, sweetheart, that's not going to happen. You've either got
Yeah.
to go to my good ear or say it from like back here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, that's so precious. And I mean, it's a unique experience growing up with a parent that has a hearing aid and a hearing loss. And so, you know what, they're going to grow up so compassionate and just be so engaged in, the hearing health world. And my daughter always tells me she loves my hearing aids. And I'm like, thank you so much. That's really nice. And, when she sees someone in the world with hearing aids, hopefully she'll treat them better than most people
Yeah,
where they just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I don't even know.
I hope
But
so. Yeah. How
yeah,
old is your daughter? My son's two and a half, and every time I pick him up, he tries to pull it out of my ear.
she'll be 3 in August.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's It's one of the things. It's tricky. It's scary because I wear the battery kind, so I always have to be very careful with the
Ah,
batteries. But she's growing up with this. We're very cautious and on it, and I
yeah,
try and educate her. And it's yeah, it's part of my parenting journey. Like it's part of
yeah,
the new me. I've only ever now parented with
definitely.
hearing loss and hearing aids, so it's just part of my experience. That's how I
Exactly.
see it. Yeah. Yeah, well, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I can't wait for more people to discover your page and to just connect with you and support each other.
Exactly. Thanks so much for having me. It's been absolutely great. And thank you for reaching out.
Awesome. Take care.
Thanks, Rachel.